Boy, Brian looks really good in those. What do you call those shorts, Conrad?
Jorts.
In his socks, in his white socks, and he's dancing. I wish he's on here with us right now so we can give him a hard time.
I wanted to ask you about that because I've heard, guys like Bruce Pritchard and guys like Eric Bischoff, and they pretty routinely look at Billy Gunn taking a bump over the guy who was running cable and not hitting him at all. Isn't that amazing? Billy Gunn's go out of your way to watch that. I think there's certain other entertainers, and we can probably all name a few who would have just ran right into him. But when I watch this back and I see D'Lo in street clothes and I see Road Dogg in street clothes, I know that is supposed to give us some sort of suspension of disbelief that, hey, these are real guys. But I also think, Road Dogg running around in his socks out here, does it feel like he's quote unquote less than a star because he's not in full costume? Do you have a preference one way or another? Like, where do you cut off realism and where do you go, hey, we need to present this guy like a superstar? We never saw Superman kind of half-ass being Superman, half-ass not. You know what I mean?
Buddy, where do I stand on this? I draw a hard line, but this is so subjective, Conrad, that man, you're going to get so many different opinions, but I'm of the mindset, if you're going to be seen on TV, and there's all kind of different sayings we can say, you better look. You don't need to look quote unquote normal. And then you get the argument, oh man, you got to make it look like it's real. So there's two sides of that coin, but I'm of the mindset, you need to look like a star. The white socks that Brian had on, the jorts and everything with that I didn't get the vibe off of that. What you were saying, it just feels lesser than. Although, Conrad, I think you can also tell stories. On my very first angle, there was a thing we did around the horn that I got extra heat in the ring. I was getting beat up. My dad, on purpose, wanted Dutch Mantel to run down to the arena, run down to the ringside, but he wanted soap to be on his legs and hands and his big hairy back to give the perception.
Yes.
Dutch jumped out of the shower, put on his tights, and ran down there. Look at Monica Seles, tennis star at Monday Night Raw. There's a little cameo, very interesting. But no, Conrad, I believe if you can enhance the story and make light of it, great. But in that scene, you saw 4 or 5 guys in street clothes. It just didn't have the scene. It didn't come across. But bro, I can assure you, Vince Russo was saying, you can't go down there in wrestling outfit. That was his other mindset. He liked guys in regular street clothes.
I get it. I mean, I understand the logic and the thinking. I just think that, if I'm trying to, like, why would the guy not be wearing his own merch? Like, you couldn't talk me out of wearing my own merch because I'd be trying to make whatever money I could out there. But you guys know that because you tell me every week I have too many freaking ads. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Owen. I know we touched on it earlier, but it's crazy to think that he had this because it feels like forever fans have had like this dream match, Brett versus Angle, and it never happened. And if you ask Kurt Angle, you see some of his interviews he did, like Inside the Ropes with our pal Kenny McIntosh, he's always the guy that Kurt shouts out, man, my one dream match, the one I would have loved to have had, was against Brett, and it never happened. He did get to wrestle Owen, and it's like this hidden gem that fans have wanted to see forever. We didn't see it. It was a dark match. And just 2 weeks later, the Monday Night Raw would be a tribute show to Owen. Little did we know he would pass away just 13 days later. I mean, the timing of all this is just really kind of weird, is it not?
It is. It is. Again, I've referenced it. We were just going from town to town. The business was red hot. I think you gave the number over 12,000 paid for a Monday Night Raw, a Monday in Orlando in May, selling out. The business was just, again, we had come from, Nitro had been on the air a couple of years. It was one of those seasons of our industry. A lot of people say cyclical, but you can kind of look back, and as time goes on, and we're have more the age of instantaneous information, so we can hit Google and find things out. You just kind of look like, as technology changed, so has our industry, from network to cable. Cable explosion and the streaming and just all the live content. Before wrestling was really, in Memphis, yes, it was on live, but now a nationwide broadcast, a 3-hour show, a 2-hour show. The story was there. As we're watching right now, it's a pretty unique story in that you hear about succession storylines and all this. You go back 25 years, and people absolutely knew when Vince came behind the curtain on the Survivor Series deal. And now fast forward a year and a half, there's his son fighting, and there's, Vince. And so it's father son and his family dynamic, and surround him with the Undertaker and Stone Cold. And, when I saw Big Show walking down that ramp with a big 2x4, the show had so much, I hate to say too much story because that's probably silly, but man, what a lot of story in all of this.
Big story here too, as we see the corporate ministry coming down to talk to the union, which is what we're going to wind up calling, some of these folks who were with Vince McMahon and the 2x4s. But it's a video of Shawn Michaels talking about how the weather in San Antonio is actually better in Florida. So he's given us a taped message, or a live message, we believe, from San Antonio, and he's running down a whole bunch of matches they're going to make for this program. And this show, you said business was hot. It is 12,213. It's a paid sellout, $306,455. But it's a nice little payoff on this piece of creative with Shawn Michaels, something we've never seen before. Standing in the ring, we've got some of the members of the union, like Big Show and like Ken Shamrock and Test and Mick Foley and Vince McMahon. And there's also 3 armed security guards, or maybe they're not armed, but they have the batons and they got the SWAT helmets on and the whole gear head to toe. Nice little reveal here. I want to touch one more thing with Owen and then we'll move on. I hate that we're even having to talk about it here, but he had 6 more matches after this match with Kurt. 3 of those were tag matches with you. 2 of them were singles with Road Dogg and 1 with Godfather, but just 6 more matches before his life was cut tragically short. And 3 of those with you against Edge and Christian. It's just, it's pretty crazy to think about how it all worked out. I mean, AEW now has the Owen Cup Memorial. You're there. Edge is there. Christian's there. It's just, it's poetic in a weird way.
Well, and where those guys were at, where we all at in our career, and even my Hall of Fame acceptance speech, the team of writers, and of course, just everybody that's being put in that year, you having a writer assigned to, and you collaborate and talk about different things. And they, they obviously had they kind of frame stuff and have a ton of, like, just a ton of input. And there was different lines in there, but I wanted to pay tribute to certain folks in there. Shawn Michaels, as he flashed on the screen, was one of them. And I owed, tipped my cat to him and a few others, my grandmother. But how do I do Owen? And it just kind of occurred to me, all right, man, Edge and Christian are here. And the last rib, if you will, that Owen really played was in Chicago. Let's put on the red noses right in the middle of a tag match, was, to me, sold out house. Yes, you can look it up. We were in a tag match at a live event, and Owen is more late to the building, but more concerned about playing a rib on these quote unquote young kids. And we got to pay that off in the Hall of Fame speech. So life flies by. It's hard for me to even imagine today, May 13th, 2024. I mean, Wembley's right around the corner. It seems like just the other day we were there. Double or Nothing, as we talked about, that just, Connie, life passes us by. So stop and smell the roses.